Hello and welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host for today, Simon Hodgkins, and I'm delighted to welcome Lorcan Malone. Lorcan is the CEO of XTM, a company helping many global brands connect multilingual content creation with audiences through AI-powered globalization platform, which continues to go from strength to strength. Lorcan, it's great to have you here on Vista Talks. You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, super to be here, Simon, and thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Well, full disclosure, Lorcan and I know each other from a previous life. We worked together in Sage PLC a few moons ago now, Lorcan, but it's great that we've caught up today. Let's set the context, if I can, of our discussion, just for everybody listening or watching us around the world. We're going to talk a little bit about the state of the nation, how you're seeing things. But before we get into that, can I ask you just maybe take a minute, share a little information about your background and your career, because you've had an interesting and exciting international sort of leadership career. You've been across software, high growth tech, and now your current role as chief executive at XTM. Tell us a bit about your journey, Lorcan, and what brings you to XTM.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Yeah, and as you mentioned, we overlapped for a few years in Sage, which was a phenomenal place to work. Actually, was fantastic. But yeah, the grey hair type tells the story, so it goes back to the 90s. And originally, I was a techie, so computer science background, engineer, joined a company called EDS. Worked my way on technical jobs there up to type of project management. And eventually, after a brief stop in San Francisco where I worked in a dot-com startup during the dot-com boom, I ended up running EDS in the Middle East and lived there for about 8 years and built a big business there in Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Bahrain, and in Dubai, which was really, really good, actually. We created a joint venture with a sovereign wealth fund called Mubadala in Abu Dhabi, which was very successful. And then came back to Ireland and joined Sage and met you and ran the Sage CRM business and also ran the Global Localization Center for Sage, which happened to be in Dublin at the time. So that was my one bit of experience with localization.
Very
And
good.
then moved from there to Arizona with a company called Swiftpage and back to Dublin again and through Sitecore to XTM. So a meandering journey, Simon.
Very good. Well, it's great, and you bring a breadth of experience. And let's kick it off then. Let's talk about the big picture, because in this sort of state of the nation, if I can call it that, and this starting point to our conversation today, through your lens, through your experience, and from your role in XDM, how would you describe the current health, Lorcan, of maybe the localization industry? And what are some of the big forces that are obviously reshaping things a lot today?
Yeah, so I think the industry is in flux, but I don't think that's different to many other industries. So I think, localization as an industry evolves. I think I've met a lot of people who have been in the industry for a long time, and there's a fantastic community, but it's definitely at this sort of inflection point and a real point of change. And I think there's a few forces going on. There's more content clearly. There's more demand for speed. There's no more money in terms of to spend, and AI is type of disrupting every aspect of the business. So I think the challenge for everybody in the enterprise space is how do you scale what you're doing with no more money while keeping it governed and under control?
Right. And
So
that sense of flux, I think it's impacting many industries. We're seeing this AI impact everywhere. But localization, I think it's becoming, it always has been, but it's becoming far more connected to things like the content, the operational side of the business, right? And also everything from product development, customer experience. We're hearing an awful lot more about how it's shifting left, maybe. And AI
Yeah.
seems to be helping the localization industry here. What do you think about that shift? Why is this such an important, almost crossroads, Lorcan?
It is, yeah, and we use the exact same term. It is shifting left. It's been built into the operating model than say a service that's offered at a point in time, further down the supply chain, the content supply chain. So it's been built into the marketing workflows, it's been built into the product workflows. And I think AI AI has probably helped set expectations that that's okay, that it should be there, and it does help deliver that's at the speed that people want it, but it's not the panacea either. It's not the answer to everything.
And I think people initially got very excited about it was the answer to everything. And that seems to have changed quite abruptly through lots of trial and error. But AI, look, and it seems to be dominating the conversation, right? Not just in localization, but in tech, in global media news. In our
Yeah.
industry, is the real question more about how is it adding meaningful value rather than the noise? Where do you believe or where do you see AI is actually making a genuine difference for customers today? And, do you think we still need to be a bit more realistic because there's still a lot of hype involved?
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely making a genuine difference now. I think, the AI is a boardroom topic for every single business. So everybody in every department is under pressure to demonstrate how they've brought AI to bear to drive up productivity or increase throughput or increase time to market. And I think localization is no different. Now, it's interesting, localization has always been the forerunner in AI through machine translation and other services. So long before it was really trendy, the localization industry was all over it. And I think this just takes it to another level. What AI has done, and the parallels to software engineering are compelling between localization and software engineering. Just like AI has turned everybody into a vibe coder, it's also turned everybody into a translator because you can throw anything you want into an AI engine and get the translations out the other end. And I think it has a role to play in every aspect of the localization pipeline, but when you get to enterprise level localization, you need to look at risk and content type and the application of AI on a suitable basis for that risk profile and content type and where you need human in the loop. And I think if it's low risk content, particularly in internal content, AI translations can be just good enough and work fine. But as you move across that to more regulated content, more customer-facing content, market-facing content, AI again has a place to play, obviously in the translation and post-edit, but human in the loop is still a vital part of that workflow.
And I think you mentioned regulated industries. Obviously, at VistaTech, we do a lot in life sciences, finance,
Yeah.
fintech, and it's kind of it, it's a very important topic that you've touched on there. And there's an awful lot of excitement, isn't there, about speed we were talking about earlier and automation, etc. And obviously, you with your extensive software background as well, you know all about that side of things. But global brands, you have to protect, I think, don't you, the quality, the trust factor that needs to be there and the compliance factor. How are we going to balance this between the rapid, almost ferocious acceleration of tech? It seems to be getting better every time I read the next headline. The models are getting better and better, but also balancing that AI efficiency with that human expertise in the loop. How are we going to balance that as we go forward? Because it seems you seem to be saying it's very critical still, and it remains critical, Lorcan. What's your viewpoint?
It is absolutely critical, particularly for regulated industry or any enterprise that wants to protect its brand and the quality of content that it pushes out to the public. But I think the job of companies like XTM is we would view ourselves as providing the platform that allows you to orchestrate those various workflows to suit the type of content and make sure that for that regulated, highly visible content, that all of the necessary steps are part of that workflow, including the AI elements where it can add genuine value. But I think you need a platform that controls the overall process so you don't lose that sort of governance layer, or you don't lose control of that content that's going to go out to the market. And I think that's vital, even in an AI world where you're looking for efficiency and you're looking for scalability and speed, you can't lose the control.
And in terms of workflows and the change to the way people are operating, I think we're seeing that, it's as much about the way we operate, the the business models that we run, the workflows that we have, and a lot of that then comes down to culture and people and embracing new ways of doing things, which isn't really a technology thing, right? It comes back to the people there then, doesn't it?
It is all about people. And it's the exact same if you're running the software engineering team as the localization team. So if you're running a software engineering team today, you're taking on the cursors of the world, the Claude Code, the Lovables. That doesn't mean you've given away the accountability to these tools. Your engineers are still vital and they might be more efficient and more productive, but they're still ultimately responsible for the quality of the code you produce. It's the exact same, I think, in localization. There's a lot of new tools coming. You know, you've got your quality scoring tools, you got your AI translation tools, you've always had your MT translation tools, you got your post-edit tools. But ultimately, somebody has to make sure what comes out at the end of that pipeline is good enough to put your name on it, particularly if you're in a regulated industry or you're just a big brand in an enterprise. It's vital that the quality does not drop.
Yeah, it comes back to brand trust, I suppose, when we
Yeah.
talk about things like quality. And with wearing sort of two hats, from a software lens and a localization industry lens. XTM, I know we've been working with them for a long time, a very strong relationship with XTM, a partnership through VistaTech, obviously. But you've been long associated as uh, an ecosystem type approach. That's the sort of mindset. And integrating with wider tools and workflows, including VistaTech's tools and solutions. But the enterprises that you're talking about, they really rely on these things and these solutions. So, how important do you think about it when it comes to the continued interoperability now with maybe more closed silo approaches? Are they going to struggle as the years ahead click by? Because it seems to be a much more open way of integrating ecosystems now. Look, and what's your view from a software and a localization perspective?
Yeah, I think that sort of interoperability is going to be vital going forward. Our philosophy, the XCM philosophy from day one, from the founders, has been openness. It has been about embracing the ecosystem of the enterprise. And I don't think you can impose one single pattern on it. And this is what makes partnerships like the XTM VistaTech partnership work so well. You can bring the best of VistaTech and plug it into XTM to deliver something compelling for a customer. And that will absolutely be our philosophy going forward. So we were always very open to any MT engine. Right now, you can run any LLM engine on our platform. You'll see the emergence of quality scoring tools out there. Again, we'll have an open approach to that so that ultimately, if you look at the way how people work and agentic comes to the fore, that interoperability then will be absolutely critical. And we're embracing that sort of agentic world. And this almost goes right back to one of your earlier questions of the shift left. We envisage a world where, say, a marketer is on a Slack channel and literally they go, translate this campaign into French, German, and Spanish from an English document, and they type that into the Slack channel, and that will be sent into XTM as their globalization platform, and XTM will then route that to the proper place based on a agentic workflow rules and as well as based on top of AI reviews of the type of content and where best it should be routed to. And in order to be able to do that, then you need to embrace an ecosystem of multiple tools, multiple vendors, and that we will absolutely continue doing that.
I think that's so important what you've said because we're working on lots of workflows with customers now where you know the system, the platform, it can say, okay, what is this content? What are the rules assigned to this content? How is it supposed to be treated? And then the system can then be set up to do, automated checks against the original rules, the original scripting, if you like, and then decide, well, we need to route that back out to a VistaTech expert. This needs to be double checked. This is regulated. This, whatever the mix of that is, to produce ultimately, I suppose, as you were saying earlier, a trusted outcome that's aligned with what the requirement is.
Yeah, yeah, and those that sort of workflow orchestration will become more sophisticated over time. We'll absolutely start with rule-based, but you're going to hit, essentially AI reviews based on history and routing based on history. And from a localization project management point of view, you're going to get to management by exception. So when things look like they're running behind, or quality has dropped, or a vendor performance has dropped, or whatever, so the AI type of agentic engine will be a huge help to the project manager as well.
So I have to ask you this next question, which is kind of related, but it's more software. We've saw at the time of recording, we saw huge impact to software companies. We saw their valuations drop significantly, all on the back of a document that was shared online. And a lot of the software companies in this agentic world suddenly got questioned because the thinking was, well, hey, we can just make some of this stuff ourselves. But I'm assuming you had a wry smile at that because as somebody who's built enterprise level software, it's never that straightforward, right?
It's never that straightforward, and I think there's a big difference between vibe coding in your bedroom and releasing and managing software that are trusted by some of the biggest companies in the world. And as you well know, localization is very, very sophisticated. When you get to that enterprise level on document types and all of the systems you need to integrate with and the language pairs that are out there and the coordination of the human in the loop, given the sheer army of translators that like a VistaTech works with, and that can't be replaced by vibe coding. Um, I think at the low end of software where people have very much point solutions, yeah, that can be done. But I think enterprise software is a lot more than just the code. And it comes right back to the trust element. There's a trust element that runs through suppliers to enterprises, whether it's the badges like the ISOs and the SOCs, etc. It's the demonstrated ability to service those customers over time, the ability to stick to an SLA, the ability to prove that your data is secure. There's a lot in providing a service to an enterprise.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And look, XTM is no stranger to releasing new ways of working, to adding to your own platform with new solutions. I want to ask you, as the CEO, what do you think you're getting right at this moment in time, Lorcan? And what's really working? What are you really proud of about XTM? And what are you looking to maybe add or improve as we all move forward in this busy AI world?
Yeah, I think, and I've met a good number of our customers over the last few months, and I'm going to the States next week and meeting customers every day, and our type of AI composable globalization platform message is resonating. Enterprises want that platform that controls the whole lot. They want the ecosystem that we talked about. They want the flexibility to plug in the tools they want. So I think our type of North Star and where we're heading for is absolutely real and resonating. I think the work we've done on agentic has been called out by the analysts and thing has been really good. So I think we've type of got a good head start on the agentic side. I think our engineering teams are really embracing now that new technology we talked about, which is allowing them to innovate faster. Um, but I think we cannot take our foot off the pedal. Like going right back to the start of our conversation, the industry is in flux. I don't think anybody has all the answers, but I think in order to succeed, you need to innovate quickly. You need to get stuff in front of customers, even as a POC or a beta, get their feedback and iterate really quickly. In this market, it is a fast moving market, and I think we're doing that, Simon. But we need to keep running hard.
Yeah, it is. It's speeding up. I keep thinking, how faster can this get? But it just keeps getting faster, Lorcan.
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And the evolution of the LLMs. You wake up in the morning, you read about the next version of Gemini or Claude or whatever and what it can do. That creates pressure on any sort of business to innovate at that speed. So I think the market expectation of the speed of innovation now is much more demanding than it was before.
I couldn't agree more. I watched Jensen give his NVIDIA sort of state of the nation and OpenClaw and Claude Code and the agentic, the speed at which agentic is happening is unbelievable. Again, I think it
Yeah.
still comes back down to trust, control, governance, which we
Yeah.
haven't really touched on here. But the ability for an agentic way of working, we're already there. It's just refinement and improvements from here, I think, Look. And you must be, I mean, compared to, I'm thinking back to when you did your computer science degree to where we're at now. It's a very different world, isn't it?
It, it's it's incredibly different. And years ago I did my computer science degree and a lot of this theory existed. I remember doing AI modules years ago. But what you have now is the compute power that you never had before. And it's unbelievable what companies like NVIDIA have done. It's incredible the amount of money that's been poured into these frontier LLM models, and they're just going to get better and better. And I think, companies like XTM and VistaTech have to harness the power of those. And our job is to take those, add value, and deliver a compelling service to our customers. And it's a very exciting time. It's like, you had the internet inflection point, you had the mobility, and now we're living through the AI one. So it's a great time to be in software.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Now,
Mm.
let's talk a little bit about the future as best as we can. As you look ahead, though, maybe through the viewpoint of what do you think will define the winners in this scenario? Because it's very hard to say where we're going to be in 3 or 5 years from now. But what are sort of some of the characteristics that you think will define the winners? And is it better technology? Is it partnerships? Is it better data? Because there's still a huge discussion on data. Or is it just better understanding of what provides value to the customer? What do you think about when you think about defining the winning sort of attributes as we go forward, Logan?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above.
Mm,
And I think that goes for both VistaTech and XTM. If you look at our organizations, understand today we understand how to service big, sophisticated enterprises,
mm.
and they trust us to do that. They understand we give them the ability to govern it and control it. I think in order for us to continue to thrive, we need to bring the innovation to them. I think that's absolutely key. So everything you mentioned, we need to be able to do. We I think we have the data. We have the ability to orchestrate it. You have type of the human in the loop element that I think is going to be needed for an awful long time. And I think in order to thrive in the market that we're serving, we need to continue to build on those trends, but we also need to demonstrate that as our customers are under pressure themselves to adopt AI and use things like agentic and use LLMs, that we bring that technology to them in a way that they can consume it while still having all of the governance they want, having the control and having the trust.
And I suppose when you think about back to winning, are you thinking about it from a what needs to be done in the short term? What does XTM need to do in the medium term, and what am I thinking about for the longer term? Or is it just moving so fast at the moment, look, and how are you approaching that?
Yeah, I think it's moving so fast. So the days of the type of 3-year roadmap and in 3 years' time we're going to get to the top of the mountain, they're gone. I think you need to be showing continuous innovation.
Mm.
You need to obviously have a North Star and a philosophy that you're building towards, but I think you need to be bringing things to market at a very fast cadence. And I think you need to be ready to adjust, I'm not sure pivot, but adjust as say like the LLMs bring out more capabilities. We need to react to be able to react fast. And I think everybody is learning. I think everybody's excited about agentic and what it could bring, but I don't think everybody. I don't think anybody can claim to have all of the answers yet. But it will get there. We all know it will get there, and you want to participate in that. I think so. So I think the real long term, Simon, is much closer than it would have been historically. The 3-year, 5-year plans, I think, are fundamentally changed. I think the quarterly meaningful things every quarter, and then top of me to me medium term is what are we going to deliver this year?
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. Well, look, Lorcan, before we run out of time, I want to maybe just touch on, we talked a little bit about XTM and VistaTech as well as we've been talking through some of the changes that we're both seeing. But we're also busy. We had a new announcement. I just want to sort of give that a plug if I can. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I think we've worked together for a long time, XTM and VistaTech, and I think I've had a fantastic relationship. But I think we took it to another level with the announcement about our partnership. And I think if you look at that, go back to your earlier question about what wins. I think the type of technology and the platform that XTM brings with the services and the expertise of a VistaTech really is a winning combination in this market. And I think that type of go-to-market partnership we have should be very compelling for customers and prospects.
I think some of the feedback we're getting initially from the recently announced news of strengthening work together is people are really appreciating that they can launch faster, but while also maintaining some of that governance, some of that auditability, which is really important to them. But also scale. People looking to scale maybe, but not just scaling, quickly, not just speed, but consistently across various geographies, across various teams, across various markets that they operate in. And the other thing that's been an age-old challenge is it's certainly helping people position their going global, their globalization efforts as true growth enablers. It seems to be empowering people even more to be able to get into the boardroom discussion to demonstrate clearly how, whether it's working with XTM and VistaTech or how this new way of working is, it's not just um, making things not easier, that's the wrong word, but making things a lot more streamlined. It's actually really positioning this side of the business as a front runner in terms of how they can deliver true growth and true results to the bottom line. It seems to be coming through loud and clear, even from the customers that we're all talking to right now.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think that's a really important part of the narrative for the whole industry. Sometimes it gets caught up in costs, but there's a huge value add in the ability to globalize quickly, the ability to enter new markets, the ability to launch new products simultaneously across the world. So, completely agree.
Well, Lorcan, it's been a real pleasure to catch back up with you again today and to hear all about the great work that you're doing over at XTM. And I do want to mention to everybody who's listening that we've actually got a couple of additional events coming up from XTM and working in partnership with VistaTech. We've got an online event coming up very soon. It's literally weeks away at the time of recording. And I would encourage people to go to VistaTech, sign up to the newsletter, go and check out the XTM website and online, our social media, both our LinkedIn presences and our social media outputs, because we've got a great online event coming up where we're going to be showcasing some of this technology, some of this great platform work that XTM are doing, and how we're working together in this winning ecosystem. We've also got a physical event coming, Lorcan, later in the year, and we're going to have some really interesting insights to share there and some guest speakers coming along to join us there. So I just want to encourage everybody to do that before I run out of time.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to that.
So that brings us, unfortunately, to the end of our time together today with Lorcan Malone, CEO of XTM. I want to ask people to hopefully join me back to tune in again to listen to the next Vista Talks, where once again we'll be discussing some very important and interesting topics with interesting people just like Lorcan Malone. Thanks for being on the show, Lorcan. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Simon. Great to talk to you again.